just pretend that you live in Florida and you're trying to get to California in your car. Are you going to use a map or GPS, or are you just going to wing it, right? And I will say, in business, I've been the wing it type of guy, just kind of coming and going and up and down and stuff like that. And I'm still going through that for sure. I just hit my 2 years in business in March of this year. Well, it is March right now. What am I talking about? My birthday is actually March 18th, which is in a couple days. But yeah, I want to talk about that. And there's a few different ways I want to talk about setting goals and talking about the thought process of goals. The number one goal when you start your business is to stay in business. Like, it's hard to set concrete goals when you haven't done any work, when you haven't gotten any customers or done any jobs. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to set, like, oh, I want to make 10 grand a month, or I want to make, $250,000 in 12 months. Like, if you don't have any proof of concept or any kind of confidence that you can do the job, it's kind of hard to set goals. So that's goal number one. That's basic, right? But once you get beyond that and you have established yourself to a certain degree where you're confident in the work you do, you have some connections, then you can kind of start setting some more concrete goals and, chasing after numerical goals or whatever it is. For me, just a couple goals off my top of my head is I want to get a truck this year for my business, right? I drive a Nissan Rogue right now, and as many of you have watched my channel for a while, you know that I started out in a Toyota Camry, a 2004 Toyota Camry, and I was putting a little 2.6 gallon a minute machine in the back seat. It folded up and everything, and all my hoses and everything, and it was a mess. And then I had a little tiny Toyota pickup, and then that engine blew up. It was an old truck, and I really didn't take care of it like I was supposed to. I had one of my best friends of all time let me borrow his little Chevy pickup, and I used that for some months, and decided to switch to my wife's car. And that was an agreement we had, and she's driving the Camry and I'm driving this, but it just doesn't feel right, The car pulls it pretty well, and I don't have problems with towing because I'm pretty efficient with the weight. I'm conscious of, how the trailer should be loaded and how much weight to carry. But outside of that, that's a whole bunch of stuff. One of my goals is to get a truck. This year, I want to do $100,000 in revenue. Last year, I got just shy of 80 grand last year, 2024. If you include some of the side work I did with a couple of my buddies, I helped one of my buddies do some construction type work, building decks and fences and some roofs and stuff. If you add it all up, I probably did right around $85,000 last year. Hope the IRS isn't watching this, but anyway, $100,000 is my goal for 2025, and the way it's starting right now, I think it's doable. I've had a great start to the year. I will say for, I think 6 months in a row or 7 months in a row last year, I did $6,000 or more in each of those months, which blows my mind, And it is revenue. Revenue's for the ego, right? It makes you feel good. But anyway, that's not really what I want to talk about in this video specifically. I want to talk about setting the goals that are right for you, because a lot of times in every aspect of life we compare ourselves. We're always looking around. The grass is always greener somewhere else and not where we are right now, right? And it can be good if you're looking around and you're looking at other people and their success and stuff. It is good to get inspired, but it becomes a bad thing when you think that they've got it made, and it must be nice that they got 3 trucks and these crazy trailers, and they got 3 machines on their trailers, and my God, they got employees, and that's all good and fine and dandy, and that's great for them. But if you start to look around at competition and you start to wish they weren't successful, that's when it's a problem. I'm of the belief, and maybe it's because of where I'm at geographically, there's enough food for everybody to eat, right? There's enough opportunity out here. I don't have a scarcity mindset of competition and, oh, they're stealing my jobs and they're bidding too low and it's a race to the bottom. I mean, could it be true? Yeah, but I don't think that mindset serves me very well, and I don't know if it would serve you well. Some people are motivated by that, but I am not. The biggest struggle with setting goals is not setting goals too big or too small. It's about what is right for your life. The important thing to ask when you're setting goals is, what life do I want to have, right? And then you can set specific goals that help you get there. You can look around at other people and say, I admire the life they live, and I want something similar to that. That's a healthy way to look at it, right? But the thing is, when you, especially on social media, you see all these people with all this fancy stuff and they look like they're crushing it, but you don't know the whole picture. You don't know what's going on. You don't know, you might not want the responsibility of multiple crews, or you got 10 employees and you got bookkeepers and accountants and an office person. You might not want that responsibility. Like myself, I don't even know if I can handle that. I'm just one guy in a truck right now. I'm chucking a truck right now. And I do envision one day having staff members to take off, some of the stress. I don't feel like I'm at my capacity yet to need that. But it's definitely delegation is not one of my strengths right now. But again, to go back to the main message is, set goals appropriate to you. Like in the beginning, when I was watching all the YouTube videos of all these pressure washing guys, and I joined all the groups and I was following all the Facebook pages of these guys that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, in my mind, it was creating negativity. I was thinking, man, I suck and I'll never be like them. And, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough connections. I don't know anything about business. And maybe some of that stuff is true. But the point is, decide what type of life you want to live. Do you want high stress, fast pace, huge negotiations, contracts, huge commercial industrial accounts? Or would you rather just keep it simple and just do your little residential and go home at 2-3 o'clock every day and make enough to, do pretty well? Like, again, it goes back to being crystal clear, and honestly, I'm speaking to myself. I need to take my own advice. It's about figuring out, what exactly am I trying to achieve here? What will if I'm successful in 30 years, what does that look like? Am I living on a farm out in the middle of nowhere on 30 acres and I got cows and goats and chickens? Or is it, a penthouse in New York City or something where I got franchise pressure washing companies all across the country and I just sit back and manage everything? Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of this, you won't know what you really want until you get into it. You know what I mean? If you're just sitting on the sidelines thinking, oh, I need to get into the business, I want to build a huge business, but then you start and you realize, oh, I don't really want a big business. I want to make $300,000 a year and have like 2 employees, and that's all I want. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't let anybody tell you that something is wrong with that if that's what you want. That's kind of the message of this video is, worry about the specific goals once you get your feet wet and you get some experience and some credibility and proof of concept. But until then, try to figure out, when you're figuring out the business, who cares? The goal is to stay in business, right? Or to not sell all your stuff. So I guess, that's the main message is, and it's something I struggle with, is what do I actually want? I could get more and more clear, and the good thing about it is the more clear you are about where you're going, just like having a map going from Florida to California, if you got GPS, it's, you know where you're going, right? You're not stressing, oh my God, what if I make the wrong turn? What if this, what if that? That's stressful, right? But if you have a roadmap to where you're going because you're clear about what it is you want, that's when the symbiotic relationship between work and pleasure and happiness, they come together, and your life isn't as bad as it used to be when you were working at a warehouse or doing a job you absolutely couldn't stand. So it's just about and sometimes, honestly, sometimes it's not really about what you want, it's about what you don't want, right? You're like, man, I just don't want all that responsibility. Or you're like, man, I don't want to sit still. I want to go, 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 go. I want to be a salesperson. I want to have 50 employees, and you know what I mean? Like, you have to know yourself, and you have to look within yourself and say, what is my capacity? What do I really want? What are my skill sets? What are my strengths? How can I get people around me to help me? Like, in my instance, I view myself as a salesperson. I don't think I'm just a technician out here spraying water, you know what I mean, and bleach. I view myself as a people person, as a salesperson, as a marketing person, and I envision myself as being that person one day where my sole responsibility is to generate leads, to convert leads, to do big estimates, and I'm not even really in the commercial world at all. My whole business is 99% residential, and I quite enjoy it, you know, but a lot of times when I start looking around at other people that are doing really big apartments or, you know, parking garages or hospitals or hotels, like, it makes me feel like, dang, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I have to recalibrate and think, okay, where do I want to go? And I quite enjoy the life I have right now, honestly. Like, I'm not financially crushing it compared to some other people, but compared to my life, prior to this business, I've never made over 40 grand in a year. You know, I was working in warehouses and restaurants and entry-level, no skill required jobs. So for me, this is life-changing. This is great. This has allowed my wife to stay home with our 3 kids. It's definitely been stressful. It's definitely been hard. It's not easy, but it's worth it. That's the whole thing. If you don't know where you're going or what life you really want, and then it gets super, super hard, it's easy to quit because you don't even know what you want. And there's no why, there's no purpose. It's just, you're just working. You're like, man, I'm just slaving away and I don't even know where I'm going. Like, how can you stay motivated? How can you continue to want to do this if there's no map? There's no direction. It doesn't matter where the destination is as long as it's your destination. And just keep that in mind when you look around and see people doing better than you. You don't know their whole picture. Maybe behind the scenes their life is falling apart. Maybe they're working too much and they got 10 kids and they never see their kids, and their wife is struggling, going through mental health issues, and you're not there to help them. You just don't know. And then, you know, just because it's on social media doesn't mean it's the whole picture. You know, I mean, it's usually the best slice of the pie that you see. You don't see the rest of it. And it just, again, it just goes back to make sure your goals are tailored to you. And I think that's what this is all about. It's not about setting goals based off other people. But if that inspires you, you should. If it inspires you to do better and to be better, and it gives you fulfillment to compare yourself and to compete, that is great. But you have to know that within yourself. I played sports all my life. Literally all my life. So, like, I have that competitive nature, but I think it was a physical competitiveness I liked. But, like, sometimes the mental competitiveness that we create in our own minds can put a lot of strain, anxiety, and stress in our lives that isn't really necessary, because you think in an abundance mindset. You think, you know, there's plenty of opportunity out here. We can all win. You know, that's in my mind a better way of thinking about it. But anyway, if you didn't know already, I'm a rambling man. I will talk and talk and talk and talk. So, but yeah, hopefully this is valuable to you, and let me know what you think about this. See you later.